yeah? I mean, if I can play it, that would be fun. Like, is it multiplayer? I'm assuming. I guess they are, yeah. Online or let's see. It says I can run the first one. It's given me some question marks for the second one. Okay, well, it just says it's because my operating system was not available when it released, so it's not officially supported. You would have thought that would apply to the first one as well, but and I hit the minimums for 3, but not the recommended. But yeah, I would happily give one of those a shot if you wanted to. Oh, you fucks. Yeah, I did. Yeah, absolutely. I have very few complaints about River City Girls, but I feel like I had a fair number of not insubstantial complaints with Astral Chain. So. Yeah, I recorded all the audio for my review, but then it sounded fucking terrible. So I ordered a new microphone, but it's not here yet. It's supposed to get here today. I was hoping it'd be here for the podcast, and then I could be like, "Ooh, how's my audio sound now?" But yeah, maybe not that. It was a very well reviewed microphone, but it's still like a $25 microphone. So, but probably better than the one that's built into my headset. Hmm? I think I mean, I'm not. No, I was just using this. The snowball is like somewhere in a box in the garage, and I don't know where or even if it still works. Um, hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's probably like been through some pretty cold winters. Also, like where those boxes are in the garage, you have to like go up a very tall ladder to get to them. And I didn't want to go up a very tall ladder. So pretty much, yeah. I might pay even more than $25 to not have to go up a very tall ladder. I have to guess which one of the prices is not a real price that I would pay to not go up a ladder. Oh no. No. Do not want. Yeah. No, that was not the audio freaking out. That was the Robert freaking out. Ooh. 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 I don't like it. All right, I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick before we're in starting time, though. All right, I am back. Indeed.
We're back.
Indeed.
Days of no activity.
And yet, here we are.
And here we are. Nothing can keep us down. Not internet troubles, not disease. But a tall ladder might.
A tall ladder might. That is true. You know what? I would go up a moderately tall ladder for this podcast.
How tall of a ladder?
Like tall enough to get on top of a house.
Okay, that's better than I thought. I'm proud of you, Robert. I am curious. Has anyone slipped and busted their ass yet on the weird stone walkway in front of your house?
Not yet.
Wow.
I mean, it's an inevitability, but
like that was the scariest part of visiting you guys, was just going down that thing when it was like slightly moist. I was like, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
But all right, we're here to talk about other things aside from height and slippery rocks. We're here to talk about Murder on the Orient Express and food and gaming or something. Who knows? And then Robert has a bit, I hope, at the beginning.
I remembered.
So let's get on to it.
All right. So there's like a news segment here and then a adjoining conversation. The news segment is kind of just like a silly little thing that I felt could be a fun discussion, which is that Tommy Wiseau has been trying to pitch himself for the new Suicide Squad movie.
Was that a real thing? Like, I sort of heard that and didn't know that it was real.
Yeah, that is a real thing. He, I guess, had taken... They'd released like the cast list, like a sort of JPEG thing that had all of the names of all of the actors who were going to be in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess Tommy Wiseau had taken that picture, and crossed out one of the names, Jai Courtney, who plays Captain Boomerang, and
Oh
then put
man, he thought he was
himself
gonna
in that
take
spot.
Jag Courtney.
I don't know if he had even thought it through that far, because that was just like the name that was in the upper left-hand corner.
Oh
So it could be that he wanted to be Captain Boomerang, or it could just be that he took off the first name on the list and
man,
put himself in. Um, but yeah, I thought that was kind of a funny story. I guess I was also curious, like, is there a supervillain who you'd really love to see Tommy Wiseau play?
from anything, probably
Well, I'm
either.
gonna say like someone who could realistically be in super. You know what? We'll do both. Someone, any supervillain, but also someone who could realistically be in Suicide Squad.
All right, I think I can fit both of these into the same one. Is because every Suicide Squad story kind of fits the same formula.
Mm-hmm.
Is they always have to have someone who gets killed at the beginning to show that Amanda Waller isn't fucking around.
Yeah.
So they give Tommy Wiseau either Condiment King or Kite Man, two excellent DC villains.
Yeah, those are both pretty good picks.
And then when he shows up, he's like, "Hey, I am the Condiment Man. Hey, how's your sex life, Deadshot?" And then they're like, "Remember, you can't spray mustard on the thing." And he's like, "No, but it tells me I can't spray mustard." And he like sprays mustard, and then Amanda Waller blows him up.
Oh man, that's such a good, like, the Condiment Man is such a good pick.
Yeah.
I remember that character because he was in Batman the Animated Series at one point.
I'm sure. I know he was in Batman: The Brave and the Bold a couple times
Yeah,
because that was more of like
that
the
one was a
spoof
lot more
series.
camp though.
Mm-hmm.
My recollection from the animated series was that he wasn't like the title villain of the episode. He was just like a dude that showed up who Batman had to deal with that was like distracting him from the real villain or something.
That's usually what he do. Kite Man has actually become sort of his own thing in recent years, so.
Yeah.
But that would just be the only way I could see Kite Man getting onto like the big screen is in like a joke dump on him role.
Yeah. Man. But yeah, like, I guess sort of the adjoining conversation is like, well, so first off, did you watch the original Suicide Squad?
Like
The infamously bad one?
Yes, I saw it.
Yeah, okay. Um I mean it's bad. There's I guess not that much to say about
Okay,
it.
I was like, is there a question?
But,
I thought it was fine. Like I wasn't like this.
yeah,
is the
that's
worst.
kind of where I'm at too.
I
Like,
feel like. Did you watch the bloopers for it?
uh-uh.
Is the best joke in the whole movie is actually in the bloopers, and it could have fit sort of if it was tweaked a little bit. And it's just like at the very end of the movie, like after all the big fight has happened. It's just during the sequence where someone like asks Deadshot like a question, and he has to give like the big "today I learned" answer about all of it.
Yeah.
And but for this blooper, Will Smith just ad libs, and he's like, "Remember, if you make friends and you treat them right, maybe they'll turn into a giant flaming skeleton and fight ancient gods for you. Don't forget." And he like keeps it completely stone faced and then walks off, and everyone else just like is trying their hardest to not laugh. And I was like, that was good.
That is pretty fun.
And Jared Leto's Joker was pretty big letdown.
Yeah. Man. But yeah, I guess since James Gunn is directing the next one, so I kind of have some hopes that it'll be better. I feel like.
I said, yeah, he's done pretty good with the Guardians of the Galaxy. And did he have another superhero movie he did?
I don't know. But, like, I would say of the Marvel movies, I think Guardians might be my favorite.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't been keeping up with them too much, but I liked both 1 and 2 a lot. I thought they were really good movies.
Cool.
But yeah, I did prepare a little quiz for this one.
All right, hit me, Quizlet.
And hopefully you won't have done too much research on the upcoming movie. But so the quiz this time around is to guess. So the quiz contains 5 actors and the names of characters.
Is this for Suicide Squad?
Yeah. And
Mm,
so you're supposed to guess which one of these is the fake one,
okay.
as we always do. Um,
Yep.
so we have Steve Agee as King Shark,
I know that's for sure 100% real character.
Daniela Melchior as Ratcatcher,
Also a totally real character.
John Cena as Peacemaker,
There is a DC character called Peacemaker, but I don't think he's a villain. So,
Rene Auberjonois as Shapeshifter, and David Dastmalchian as Polka Dot Man.
Polka Dot Man is also a 100% real person. So, I think I'm going to go with the John Cena Peacemaker one because we talked about wrestling and you brought up John Cena.
Oh man, I thought you kept being like, I know that's a real one, and I was getting worried here. Like, oh man, he's got me dead to rights.
Was I wrong?
You were wrong.
Dang.
John Cena's Peacemaker is real. It was Rene Auberjonois as Shapeshifter is the fake one.
Because there is also a character called Shapeshifter, but I was just like,
okay,
yeah,
that one.
That's why I was like, you didn't make any of those up. Those are all things, but I know Peacemaker isn't a villain, and John Cena doing that's cool.
That one, I didn't realize Shapeshifter was a real thing. That was an inside joke for me, because Rene Auberjonois played Odo, the shapeshifter on Deep Space Nine.
Well, yep, you did it.
Yep, I did it.
You did the thing.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep, that's all I had.
That's all the things? All right, well, then let's get into the meat and potatoes. Haha, call ahead to the food thing of this podcast.
Yes.
And we're talking about Murder on the Orient Express. As you could probably tell from the image, we're not talking about the 2018 one. We're talking about the 1974 one, the good one.
Correct. Indeed.
And this is the first time either of us saw it. So, Rob, what did you think?
I liked it a lot. I don't know that it definitely isn't a favorite movie of mine of all time, but I felt like it was a really solid movie and I enjoyed it the whole way through. What'd you think?
I feel probably about the same way. I might feel a little more positive than you. Like, this might be my favorite of all time. I'd say of murder mystery films, this is definitely up there.
Yeah.
And I can see why for things we'll talk about later. Like, the big twist I thought was novel, and I'm surprised, like, man, for this movie being the book being as old as it is, I can't believe I haven't seen this set up as a thing already and had this spoiled.
Yeah.
And this
I you know me, I'm usually, like, my usual stance is spoilers don't matter, but I actually regret that this one was spoiled for me because I agree with you that the twist is pretty great.
And I completely forgot this was an Agatha Christie story.
Yeah.
Because, like, they don't really make a deal of it in the intro, at least on, like, when I was watching on Amazon. They were like, an Agatha Christie's special book.
Yeah.
So I forgot. And when they first started introducing the character of Hercule Poirot. I had heard of this character for a long time, like, as being, like, one of the top, like, detectives in fiction.
Yeah.
And when they said his name, I was like, they said Poirot, and I was like, oh, I know a Hercule Poirot is that. And they're like, are you Hercule Poirot? And I was like, oh shit, is this the first time I actually get to see this character?
Yeah.
And I immediately sorry.
I was just like, my mom loves murder mystery stuff, so I was somewhat familiar with Poirot before, but I think I also hadn't realized that this was an Agatha Christie adaptation when I recommended it. So,
but as soon as I realized that was him, my brain immediately started thinking of, like, how does this guy stack up to Sherlock Holmes? And I was like, man, they're both pretty good.
Indeed.
But where to start? I have to say, What do I have to say? I had like 4 different thoughts shoot through my head as I started talking. Well, I guess I'll throw it to you because this is more of your like baby. Was there anything you specifically wanted to talk about first?
I don't know if there was anything that I had in mind to talk about first, but I guess I would say like, so one of the things that I think is probably a big appeal for this movie, but that like I didn't get just because I don't have enough, like I haven't watched enough older movies, is that this is a insanely star-studded cast.
Yes.
But just like the only one of them who I actually recognized was Sean Connery.
Really, that was the only one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Some
okay.
of them, like, I recognized the names of the actors or the actress, like Ingrid Bergman.
Mm-hmm.
Is that her name? Yeah, like I recognized her name, but I don't know that I've ever seen a movie that she was in before this. Um,
I'm almost positive I've seen almost one movie with almost every one of these characters in it.
yeah.
I
One
think
of
have
the
you seen Psycho?
okay, yeah, I have seen Psycho.
I
Is she in
thought.
Psycho?
No, well, no, I was gonna say Anthony Perkins, the guy who plays McQueen. I think that's Patrick Bateman. I mean, not Patrick Bateman.
Oh,
Bates. I'm gonna look that up really
yeah.
quick. I might be wrong.
I mean, it at that like I remember seeing something about Psycho while reading through the trivia.
Yeah, it
It
was Anthony
it's
Perkins.
almost certainly the case that I've seen some of these actors in other things, but it just like wasn't registering for me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like one of the trivia things that I read said that there's a pretty good argument for this being the movie whose cast has more like major awards than any other movie ever made.
Hmm.
So
Makes sense. Because I recognized I forget his first name, but like Finney, the guy who played
yeah, Albert Finney.
Albert Finney. Yeah, I recognized him from stuff. I couldn't put like it was a movie where like I'm seeing all these faces, and save for Anthony Perkins, I was like, because he plays another character who's like, I really love my mom in a way that makes me kill people. I was like, ah, typecasting. Trying to think if I moved. I guess if I moved your head really quick, I could see behind. Yeah, Bassett. Yeah, Cassell. I've seen him in something. And then the woman who plays the Miss Hubbard. I also seen her in stuff. As soon as I saw Sean Connery was in this, I immediately was waiting for the first moment he'd either say something really xenophobic or punch a lady. And he did not disappoint. Just like his third line in the movie is just taking a shot at French people, and I was like, yep. That's Sean Connery. And he only punches one person in the whole movie. I was really disappointed.
Yeah. Well, he'll get him next time.
Willie? Like what? Like in what?
I don't know. Another movie that he's in.
Oh, okay. Well, that'd been like tomorrow or something. Sean
I mean,
Connery,
he
just,
might.
Just get up.
He probably sees that we're talking about him now, and he's on his way to one of our houses as we speak.
Well, my house is at the top of numerous moderately high ladders, so he'll never get to me.
I don't know if he suffers from my weakness.
Maybe. But, well, if we don't have anything specific to talk about, I'd like to talk about just poor... I'm going to say his name right, because now I'm trying
Poirot.
to say... Poirot. Like, I'm trying to say his name right, and I'm fucking it up.
Like Pois and then Roux.
Poirot.
There you go. That sounded good.
The Belgian man. I also, as a weird side note, I felt really stupid for like a good number of minutes during this film because it's like, he's from Belgium, and my brain went, what is the adjective for Belgium? And I was like, Belgian, Belgarian, and I was just sitting there, and then I was like, Belgian chocolate. I figured it out. The power of fat kid food got me back on track. But for being a movie that was in the 70s about a character who's in the 30s, I was very surprised to see how sort of like metrosexual his character was. Like when it cuts to his room at night, and I was like, is he wearing a hairnet? And then he puts on the fucking mustache guard, and I was like, that's pimp.
I love that thing.
Oh,
it's
man.
so silly looking. Well, and something kind of like cool too is that I guess at the time that they made this movie, Agatha Christie had basically gotten to a point where she just refused to sell the rights to any of her books because she'd been so disappointed with every single adaptation. And they managed to convince her to give them the rights, and she, like, at the age of 84, came to the premiere, and this is the only movie adaptation of her stories that she ever actually liked, because she felt like it did a really good job of capturing Poirot as she meant him to be.
I think the only other Agatha Christie movie I saw, I think, was 12 Little Indians, and that one wasn't very good. But it's also a racist title. But yeah, when he like shows up and he's putting the lotion on his hands, and I'm like, ha, he's putting lotion on his hands. That's funny. And then they step it up by putting on the big like dishwashing gloves, which I now call Chekhov's very moistened hands, because I was waiting for the whole movie for someone to touch his hands and go, ah, Poirot, your hands are so soft. And he's like, but they never did, and I was really bummed.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
But I really like his character, because like at first when he was shown off, I thought, I was like, this guy's kind of an ass, because like the very first thing he does in the movie is complain. When they're like, how's the food? And he's like, it's shit. And I was like, oh, is this kind of character? But then as you see the way he talks to every character, he treats everyone differently, which shows some sort of, I would argue, maybe emotional intelligence, but definitely like fierce, real intelligence of knowing how to manipulate people. And I was like, oh man, he's really smart.
Indeed.
He didn't feel like quite the well of useless, almost superhumanly deep trivia as Sherlock Holmes, where he's like, I was able to solve this because of the way that sparrow wing hit against that wind chime or whatever.
Yeah, I kind of like that though.
Oh, I
like,
do too.
It feels more believable, and like, I think there was really only one deduction that he makes in this where I was like, that feels a little far-fetched to me.
Can I guess what it is?
Yeah.
Is it the person's like the weird, when he's like the name association thing?
When he like burns the note?
Oh.
No? What was yours?
Oh, because the burning the note thing didn't seem super out of place at all. Because that's like a thing I've learned in real life. Is that
Well, I'm not saying that he was able to burn the note. I'm saying like he saw two parts of those words and was just immediately like, "Oh, this is that murder case."
Oh,
and therefore
that.
This
okay.
is that
I
guy.
thought you meant like knowing to burn the note.
Oh no, not knowing to burn it. It was like the like immediate association from the name to the case, which like some of what I read after watching the movie made me go like, maybe there are some things that like I wasn't picking up on. So like one thing is that the movie is set in December, which I guess is when the kidnapping happened, and it's like 5 years afterwards. And so like that makes it a little bit more realistic for that thought to be primed in his mind. And the other thing is the character, like this is something that I wouldn't have picked up on like on my own, but that character would have picked up on, which is that it's weird for the Calais coach to have been as full as it was, and it's weird that there are a lot of people on it who like are not wealthy. And so like those are things that might have clued him into the fact that like some weird things are going on. And so like I guess one thing that felt like a bit more of a leap maybe is not as much of a leap as I felt like it was, but
I also really appreciate the beginning of the movie when they're doing like the initial sweep of the murder scene. He brings it up, and the way he inflects it was kind of noticeably weird. It's like, don't you guys feel there's a lot of clues in this room?
Yeah.
And this movie is older, so I should have not expected them to say it, but I'm used to seeing when that gets brought up in more modern crime stuff, the lead detective will use the term, this is what we call an orgy of evidence. And I've heard that line so many times, I was waiting for Poirot to say it in his like weird Frenchish accent, and I was getting ready to chuckle. And then he never did! And no one touched his soft hands. I kept saying
Chekhov's orgy of evidence.
But no, the thing that I thought was a little like was when it's at the very end when he's kind of like slamming everyone's alibi shut, and it's when he's like telling of how the princess was bullshitting, and she was like, her name was Freebody, and then he's like, haha, clearly this was a reference to the English clothing store for women, Freebody and Denim, and then turning to the Denim lady or whatever her name was, and I was like,
I guess that one didn't bother me as much, but
because I was like, really, Freebody? Like, I've met 2 people in real life who weren't related whose names were Freebody.
Yeah.
So,
but I guess if we're saying like what he's doing is pointing out a bunch of odd coincidences, and like also he's already identified who this other person is, then like it doesn't feel unfair to him to point out like you were probably free associating when you came up with this made up name, because it wasn't made up.
It just felt a little weird, but at the same time, yeah, there wasn't anything in it that I was like, this is like I've seen definitely dumb shit, like especially in the show Sherlock in its later seasons where it's just like, come on, no.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought all of the characters did well. I kind of coughed there for a second. Did well. I'm trying to think if there's anyone that like really.
Did you have a favorite character?
I mean, Poirot.
Other than Poirot.
Probably.
I guess if you just want to say Poirot, that's fair.
I'm just gonna call him Super Detective Man. I'd say either the commander of the line was funny, and then the doctor was also pretty funny to me.
Yeah. I really loved the butler. He had a couple of lines that super cracked me up.
It's about 10:30.
Yeah, that was it. It is about sex, or where the guy asked him if it's about sex, and he says, "No, sir, it's about 10:30." But I also liked that when he was being asked about his roommate and what language he speaks, he says, "A kind of English, sir. I think he learned it in a place called Chicago." Made me laugh.
But overall, it was just a very odd mystery film to me, because like normally in my brain how I picture it is like the murder is going to happen and we're going to find out who the murderer is, and then at the end, if there is a happy ending, it'll just be the murdered victim's family getting closure that the person was caught. Like that's kind of like the mood of the film. But this movie, jumping ahead, has a very like happy, positive vibe at the end of it, despite this movie being about horrible knife murder. And as you learn why that is, I was like, oh, I was not expecting this at all.
Yeah, I mean, do we, I guess, kind of want to talk about that now?
Yeah, sure, why not? We're 30 minutes in. Is the big twist, everyone. So this is your one chance, no one who's watching it right now, and mystery person in the future who's someone's been watching all of our podcasts on YouTube.
Well, you know what? Mystery person, thank you from the bottom of our heart.
There's like 1 or 2 views, and I have never watched, like I haven't ever video checked any of our podcasts on YouTube, so someone's looking at them. Is the reveal is there's not 1 murderer, but 12!
Indeed.
Yeah, the guy who actually wait, they won't see my mouse if I move it. The dude on the bottom right of the screen on the left, the old gray-haired dude, that's the guy who gets murdered. Turns out he's a big criminal boy and a huge asshole responsible for a bunch of deaths directly and indirectly, and everyone else except for Peru and the conductor and the doctor are all somehow related to the family that was wronged by that man. So this whole train trip was a contrived instance to get him somewhere that they could murder him.
Indeed.
Which brings me to my one complaint of the movie, but it looks like you were going to say something, so I'll let you say what you're going to say.
No, you go ahead.
I
want to hear your complaint.
The one thing that bothered me, which is something that has come to bother me as I've like grown up and tried to do more writing stuff, is the idea of contrivance or coincidence being a
Yeah.
driving force and why something happens. Is the whole reason the murder, the whole reason Murder on the Orient Express gets to be a movie is because it just so happens Poirot has to be on this train. If he would
Yeah.
not have been shoved onto this train, the murder thing would have gone on without a hitch and everything was fine. But it's everyone in the train has to suddenly adjust because the super detective's on the train,
Yeah.
and I'm just like,
Yeah. I guess I feel like you're it's true that that is definitely kind of a contrivance, but I guess it feels like one a contrivance that's so baked into that genre,
mm-hmm.
um, where like of course the master detective has to be kind of in the general vicinity of the crime, um, but also like it happens early enough in the story that I'm willing to kind of let it be just like one of the things that I'm going to suspend disbelief on. Like if you have a large contrivance that resolves the plot, I find that a lot more bothersome than one that sets the plot up.
Mm-hmm. It's not.
But
I'm not faulting the movie for it, and the movie's also like 50 years old, so
yeah.
I can't be like, is
Well, the
it's
movie's 50 years old and the book would be even older than that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is it's just, like I'm writing a new thing right now, and as I'm writing it, I have to always go back and be like, is this just good thing this rock fell down when we needed it, and
Yeah.
trying to avoid those. So that just stuck out to me now is because I've just been on such a bender of trying to remove all contrivance from my writing.
Yeah.
And just seeing that was the only thing where it's just like, oh, so if he wouldn't have gotten on this train,
Hmm.
this whole plot thing wouldn't have mattered. I was just like, oh, okay, but whatever. But
Yeah. But yeah, it's like it's a great twist though that like all of them were in on it.
mm-hmm.
Um and I one thing that I found really interesting too that I was not expecting was the fact that Poirot is moved enough by the reason that they murdered him that he doesn't turn them in to the police.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel about that?
I like that. Well, that was
Yeah.
definitely a very humanizing thing for him.
Yeah.
Is I was because that's when they were all doing it. I was like, is it going to be like an ending where it's all 12 people are being let off in chains and just Poirot standing next to the person just going, the world is full of twisted vengeance, even on this snowy Christmas morning. And then it's just like, yep, everyone's sad all the time.
Yeah.
But then he's just like, this. I guess another minor thing I have a problem with is that they always refer to this dude who's in most of the movie he's called Ratchet, but that's an alias. His name is Cassetti.
Mm-hmm.
Is they refer to him as this horrible person, which, to be fair, his actions that we are told about, never shown, are terrible. We're never really given a reason to hate him as what we see him do on the train.
Yeah.
Like he was just a dude that when it's like revealed, haha, he was a murdering mafioso, I was kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah, like the worst thing that he ever does that we personally see him do is that he tries to solicit the help of Poirot, who's like, I'm not interested in your case, which is like not that much of a crime.
Well, because like that's not even like to me that's not a bad thing at all.
Yeah.
I'd say the
No,
shittiest
yeah.
the shittiest thing he does is he's kind of a dick to the butler late at
Yeah,
night. But I'm like,
that's
he's
true.
a grumpy old man who's really rich. That's just how they are, I guess.
Yeah.
But then it was just like we all hate him and want him murdered. So I was just like, it was a little hard for me to not almost kind of feel bad until I had to keep reminding myself. I'm like, oh, that's right. He's a horrible person who had this child murdered.
Well, and I think like the movie kind of frames the murder so much around the sense of loss that the people who murdered him feel as a result of his crimes. You know, like in the scene where all of them stab him, pretty much all of them say like, this is the person who you hurt me by taking away from me, you know? So like, I guess even though we don't really see other than in some like muddled flashbacks at the start of the movie, what he did.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I never had a hard time feeling like he was probably a bad guy. Something that I found really interesting, though, is that apparently the motive of the killers, which was grief, is a extremely rare motive within the genre of murder mysteries, or at least like the classical version of the genre.
Hmm.
And so that's like part of the explanation for why um, Poirot lets them go. So like one of the trivia pieces that I came across was that of the 73 murder mystery novels that Agatha Christie wrote, this is the only one in which the detective does not bring the killers to justice.
Oh, really? She doesn't have any ones where the killer gets away with it? That's surprising.
Nope. I mean, I don't think it's maybe this is just because like I grew up with a mom who loved murder mystery novels, so
Oh,
like
okay.
it's not surprising at all to me because in the like classical version of the genre, the case always gets solved in the end.
Yeah.
And like in the vast majority of those books, the conventions of the genre, the motive is usually something
Greed, usually.
it's like greed, or it's a murder of like
Passion.
passion, like they
Mm.
caught their lover cheating or that kind of thing. So it's always the case in the vast majority of these books that the person who did the murdering kind of deserves to get brought to justice. Um, but yeah, I thought that was an interesting thing about this movie.
One thing now that we brought it up, how the fuck were only 3 of those stab wounds lethal stab wounds?
Yeah,
And 2 of
that,
them being so slight as to be a scratch. Like, they all stabbed him to the hilt.
yeah, that feels pretty silly. And like another thing that's kind of silly that I guess was in the book, but they didn't do in the movie because of the way that everything gets revealed,
Mm-hmm.
is in the book, those characters kind of talk some after Poirot leaves. And what they realize amongst themselves is that part of the reason that they decided to all murder him as a group was so that none of them would have to bear the guilt of knowing that their specific stab was the one that killed him, which is like objectively silly because whoever stabbed him first is probably the one that killed him. But
That's, I've actually thought that was what the point of it, sort of like the firing squad mentality.
yeah.
When they were doing that to him, I was like, is that the point of it? But yeah.
But I mean, I guess like there are real world cases though of people who get stabbed multiple times and live. Maybe like it's just a matter with stab wounds of like if you take a hit in an organ, that's a lot more does a lot more damage than other stabs or something.
It was more the one where it's like, and 3 of them were barely scratches or whatever.
Hmm.
And it's like,
Yeah.
everyone went, except for the butler, but even he did a really sharp, good motion as they all kind of like
Hmm.
went forward, body on the knife. I was
Yeah.
like, what the hell?
Well, maybe since we can't see the body on camera, they all just like came in right over here. Or,
We're just getting them on the sides.
yeah.
But yeah, like I can't believe I have not seen, since this movie and book have come out, another instance where it's there's no one suspect. They're all suspect murderers in
Yeah.
a thing. I've seen a lot of like either like realistic or comedy driven like psych mystery shows where they could have easily
Hmm.
done that, but I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
And I was just, huh. So I did notice as the movie was going, I'm like, how the of all of these things, how are these people all related to the Armstrong family? This is
Hmm.
weird. But then at the
Yeah.
same time, Hercule is like, this is weird. So like, you kind of are sharing that same mindset as the character, but
Yeah.
I want that
Something
mustache
that
card.
made me laugh though was that with so many of the interviews where his friend got up and was like, "This is the guy. This is the one."
Mm-hmm.
But
We did it to the butler, who was still clearly within earshot, and the butler's just
yeah,
like, "Come on, man."
that's not cool.
Is Agatha Christie like the one who kind of set up the butler? Did it?
I don't know actually. Maybe. She certainly would have to have been someone who set a lot of the conventions of that genre. But
Because when he
I would
said,
be
no.
I would be very surprised to find that that was something that she was doing in like all of her books. But
I think I've read 2 Agatha Christie books
hmm.
in my whole life.
Yeah.
One was at school, and the other one was the full book came with a version of the point-click adventure game that I got for a gift, and I read the book. I don't remember. Maybe, yeah, no. It's like, was one of the books 12 Little Indians, and then that's why I watched the movie and was like, oh, it's not very good. I don't remember. But this did make me want to watch like other like murder mystery films.
Yeah, I would definitely be down for that too. I don't know, I like a good detective story.
I can't think of any other ones. Another one that it's really good, but it's more of a noir thing, is L.A. Confidential is really good.
Yeah.
Which is the movie basically Team Bondi just held down and ripped apart to make L.A. Noir.
Ah. Yeah, it's not a movie, but I actually genuinely like Columbo a lot.
I can totally see you watching Columbo.
Like, I think the great thing about Columbo as a character is that, like, he acts really goofy, but it is, like, an act that he's using to get people to let their guard down around him. Because they're just like, this
Goofy
fucking
idiot.
doofus. Yeah. He's not solving any crimes.
He is
But,
solving all
yeah.
the crimes. Yeah, I've definitely watched some Columbo with I think it was my grandma. Because Columbo is like an old people show.
Yeah.
You got an old soul, Robert.
I do have an old soul.
My grandma also didn't like going up ladder-sized houses.
We would have been great friends, I'm sure.
Jeff, what else did you want to talk about with the movie?
So, like, well, it's sort of funny because, like, one of the things that I had wanted to watch the movie for is because I'd been reading Sidney Lumet's book, and I was like, it would be kind of fun to look at, like, some of his directorial techniques. But that proved sort of difficult because, like, part of his ethos as a director is that you're not really supposed to see his hand in the movie. So, like, I think there are some subtle things that he's doing. Like, one thing that I know he really wanted to emphasize was, like, the glamour of the characters. So he would do things like use a lot of backlighting so that they kind of feel more glamorous and that kind of thing. But another thing that I really liked and have some like interesting things about is he wanted the train itself to also feel like one of the characters.
I definitely
and I know,
see that.
Yeah, and I liked a lot of the shots of the train too. I don't know. Did you like any of the train shots at all?
I did. Is the Orient Express, was that a real train?
It was a real train, and they actually got a genuine Orient Express engine for the movie.
Oh.
They had been like out of service for years at the time that they shot it, and so like the one that they got could not move very far, but they were able to get it to move far enough for various shots. The scene where it pulls out of the station was actually shot on location in Paris.
Ooh.
And they pretty much only had one chance to get it right. But it like looks great.
Yeah, that's the shot I was thinking of when you're like, do you have any train shots?
Yeah, it does like a good job. I mean, there's a couple where it's like coming out of tunnels and it's really like the way it's lit is awesome and I loved too.
I
But
loved the one where it was the train actually going under a bridge with a full smokestack, and like the smoke just explodes off the side of the thing. I was like, "That's
yeah,
cool. Trains are dope."
yeah, but yeah, the that the there's sort of a funny bit of trivia that I learned from the book actually,
Mm-hmm.
where the train was pulling out of the station. So they play music while it's pulling out, but that I guess was one of two options that they had. They had hired this guy who was at the time the world's premier expert on train sound.
Trains. Okay.
Yeah, I guess he like had this huge library of train sounds and spent months making this like beautiful, perfect series of train sounds. But they realized they couldn't make that work with the music, and that as perfect as it was, the music was better. So they had to tell the poor guy that they couldn't use his train sounds.
Oh, I feel like for a man who spends so much time with a thing called train sounds, being told he could not use his train sounds would be devastating.
Yeah, it sounded like it was pretty devastating. Where they told him, and he was, I guess they like told him, and he was like, "Yeah, you're gonna tell me that we can't use him, right?" And they were just like, "Yeah." And I guess he just left the studio, and they never saw him again.
He's plotting his revenge.
Yeah,
His
a
revenge.
train sound based murder.
Could you imagine that though? Is the crazy shitness of the dude who was going to have his train sounds put into like the world's most famous murder mystery movie, then commits a murder that has to be solved in another
Oh man.
movie.
And the murder, I feel like it does have to at least in some way revolve around train sounds. But yeah, I wish I was talented enough to write this novel or screenplay now.
We'll just do it together.
Can do that together.
That's what will make an RPG maker.
Yes. Oh man. That would be pretty great.
Yeah, I think I've said about everything that I want to say for the movie, so I'll just let you
Okay.
be the conductor of this conversation until you're done as well.
All right. Well, let's see. I think we covered a lot of the like plot things that I wanted to talk about, but I do have some trivia for this one.
Mm.
One of these, and I'll save it, is I think one of the funniest pieces of trivia that I've come across.
Even funnier than two guys having a height dirt battle in the Old West.
I I mean that is pretty funny too. This one is like funny for different reasons, but I think it's pretty good. But we'll get there and then you can judge.
Okay, I will judge.
One thing, like speaking of the height battle, one thing that I think you'll be pleased to find with this movie is that the cast really liked each other.
That's good. That always makes me
Yeah,
feel good.
a lot of them in like separate interviews where they like hadn't like they weren't saying this ostensibly just to like be nice to each other. You know, they were like on their own being interviewed, but a lot of them said that the reason that they took the role was because they wanted to work with the other people who were in the movie, which is just really sweet and nice.
Yeah.
But like they, I think, also went pretty far to support one another. One of the big places is that like the scene where Poirot is laying out all of the evidence was an 8-page long monologue. And
Shit.
yeah, it and I didn't go back to check for sure on this one, but one thing that I read said that the runtime of that segment is 27 minutes. I don't
Yeah,
know for sure if that's true. Yeah, okay.
because
Yeah,
I
so
was
like
wondering, is like we have to announce the solution, and then I paused the movie and looked. I'm like, there's 33 minutes left. What the fuck?
yeah, it's an enormous thing. And so like what makes it extra difficult is that the the train cars that they were shooting in are also actual interiors from Orient Express train cars
Mm-hmm.
that they had to go to some Belgian museums that had them preserved and borrow them and then like disassemble them and move them to the set and reassemble them. But because there's train cars, it's hard to get, they could not possibly get all of the angles that they needed for that scene all at the same time, which meant that Albert Finney had to run the entirety of that 8-page monologue, which I guess he did in like full takes multiple times in a row, while the rest of the cast, it's also difficult for them, because they're like, I mean, not as difficult, but they're still like having to sit there for 27 minutes at a time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but they all did a really good job and were really supportive because they wanted to bolster Albert Finney's performance, which seemed really
He did a
sweet
really
to
good
me.
job in that monologue at the end.
Indeed, he did. Let's see. One thing, so Ingrid Bergman actually won an Oscar for her performance in this.
Mm.
And Sidney Lumet had really, really wanted her for the movie so much that he had offered to let her play any role that she wanted to play. And he was thinking that she would play Princess Dragmironov, who has more and meatier parts. But I guess Bergman became really attached to the character of Greta, who was the Swedish
Yeah.
charity person.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ingrid Bergman is from Casablanca. She's like,
Okay. Well, I haven't seen that.
what?
But
Well, I don't
yeah.
want to. I don't want to watch that for the podcast.
Okay.
I didn't want to be like, oh, it is a good movie though.
I should probably see it sometime. But I mean, I also, I don't know. There's a lot of big movies I haven't seen. We know that.
Like Die Hard 2.
Like Die Hard 2. Um, sorry.
So he
Okay.
has to dive back into the trivia cage.
Yep. Um, oh, one thing that is like a little silly is Vanessa Redgrave, who played Mary Davenham, was apparently a communist and would
Nice.
spend the lunch times in the cantina trying to convert the workers to communism until they eventually asked if they could get her to go and talk to someone else, which is pretty silly.
I would not enjoy someone trying to convert me to
Yeah,
some other form of whatever while I was trying to eat my tuna sandwiches.
man, I wove in so much of my trivia, but we do still have my one. Okay, so let's do my
Here
what
we
I
go.
think is my best piece of trivia.
All right.
So Albert Finney was 34 at the time that they shot this, but Poirot is an older character, and so he needed some like pretty intense makeup, and it took hours every single day to do his makeup. But at the same time that they were shooting this, he was also performing in a play, which meant that the demands on his time were super extreme to the point where he just didn't have enough time to sleep.
Oh
And
no.
so the studio's solution to this was that this was a part of his daily routine, was that they would send an ambulance to his house and the crew would sneak into his room and get him onto like a stretcher trying not to wake him up, and then would like still trying to keep him asleep transport him onto the ambulance where the makeup crew would try and put his makeup on while he was asleep. And then like when they got to the studio, they'd take him out and finish the makeup up while he was still asleep.
Oh man, that might be the best one. I don't think it's as just kind of funny as to
Yeah.
me as the dirt piling one, because I can just see two big dick swinging assholes just being like, "Nope, I'm the tallest one." But
Yeah.
that is so absurd that feels like that needs to be in something.
Yeah.
Like that
I
that
just love the idea of like ambulance people having to sneak into his bedroom, carry him out.
Oh man, if okay, when we finally get the rights to do the Albert Finney biopic,
Hmm.
that is going to be what our opening credit sequence is. It's going to
I
be
like
him
it.
laying in bed looking like he's dead, the ambulance pulling up and them getting him, and then just as he's just like asleep with his mouth hanging open, they're like just doing his makeup as it's just doing the credits with no explanation, and everyone's going to be like, "What the fuck is going on?" And then they prop him up. And he's like, "All right, I'm Hercule Poirot." But that's pretty nuts.
Yeah.
That would not work on me at all. I would wake up immediately.
Yep, me too. But I guess I'm also not acting both in a major motion picture and a stage play. Maybe that just takes a lot out of you and you're more of a sleepy boy.
Probably true. But that was pretty good piece of trivia. Got anything else?
um I guess one other thing that I read about that I thought was kind of interesting and made me think a little more. This one's I found it in trivia section, but it's like maybe something that I should have just like thought about was that the final scene of the movie where they're all like toasting
Mm-hmm.
was kind of interesting. I guess it was meant to serve two purposes. So the sort of obvious one is it's the one time in the movie where those characters actually get to be like genuinely who they are.
Mm-hmm.
They're not having to like pretend not to be. They're not having to pretend not to know one another. Um, but I guess it was also meant to serve as kind of like a curtain call, which is
Makes
fun.
sense.
Yeah. Okay, but that's all I got.
All right. Well, we had some good information going that for time. So we'll move into the
Yeah,
last part. We're gonna talk about food
indeed.
in games.
Yes.
And yeah, so I definitely am someone who I love cooking. So
Hmm.
I always pay attention to when games have cooking elements and
Yeah.
how good they are. Where in Japan, I think more than Western games does cooking the best.
Hmm.
My brain immediately is jumping to the Monster Hunters franchise, especially this new one. Has some of the most delicious cooked meat looking textures I've ever seen
Yeah.
in game. Like, have you seen anyone play the new Monster Hunter?
A little bit.
Have you seen like
I
the
I've kind of watched some of my roommates play it a little. I think I think in one of Donkey's videos he's playing it and he's like trying to roast meat on like a spit while a monster's attacking him for a
wow,
bit.
what
But
an idiot? But did
I
you
mean
have?
it's for a bit, but
Yep, he's a dumb guy. Take that, Donkey. How does it feel to get smashed by me?
I
Uh,
think he's more clever than he lets on. But
mm, well, this isn't the Smash Donkey podcast. This is the Food's Delicious and CJ Eats Too Much of It podcast. Is the cutscenes that play anytime you visit the cantina where the cats all cook you a meal
hmm. Yeah, I
is
haven't seen that.
you need to look one of those up. It's the first few times it made me genuinely hungry after watching them. That and then the new Final Fantasy does a really good job with the one character Ignis. His whole deal is he's a cook, and just it'll be like, I made this, and then it just cuts down to this like immaculate ramen dish where you can see all the individual pieces. It's not just like a bunch of 3D objects stacked on like a flat texture of like broth. It's like it all has depth, and it's just like, why'd you do this when chapter 13 of your game is garbage? Why would you put all of this here? But I know when we brought it up, you jokingly brought up the Senran Kagura cooking game.
Yeah.
Have you actually played that?
Yeah, I played quite a bit of it actually.
Do you own it?
I do, yeah.
Or,
I have it on Steam.
nice.
It's pretty fun. It's really it's a rhythm game,
Mm-hmm.
more than it is a cooking game. Um, I think what's really great about it, like it reminds me a lot of what was that anime? Food
Shokugeki.
Wars? Yeah,
Food War.
Shokugeki no Soma.
Yeah.
Um,
Pretty screamy.
because like a big part of the fun of it is that like after you make your dish, then the like really old samurai guy will taste it and will have like a crazy reaction to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, then that I don't know. I I will admit I'm usually not paying that much attention to the food while I play that game.
I do have an off-topic question because I just wondered because I've never really watched any of this Aaron Cowger. Are they all ninjas? Like everyone?
Yeah.
Even
Yeah,
like
they're all
the
ninjas.
shredded Bancho girl?
Yeah.
What ninja clan is she a part of?
I don't remember. I mean, like the stories in those games are too dumb to pay any attention
I like is
to.
there just a gang of street ninjas that just dress like Jotaro? That's
I don't think there's a street ninja gang, but they're all like parts of different ninja academies.
okay.
Um, so yeah.
I just wasn't sure. Um, but getting back to food, I'm trying to think. A lot of 2D games have a lot of beautiful food. The Dragon's Crown, from what I had seen, I've played a little bit of it, but like the cooking mini game, all of
Yeah,
the
that was one that I'd written down too.
yeah, the food looks like unreal, but
Yeah,
delicious.
it looks good and like it's a pretty fun mini game. I feel like I would have liked it more if I had friends who wanted to play the game with me. Like it's a game that it feels if you're playing it as just you, then like you get overwhelmed because you as one person have to do the cooking for the whole party
Mm-hmm.
and it's like on a clock.
Yeah,
But I feel like if you were playing with friends, then it would be pretty fun and a little chaotic.
because
Yeah.
one game that like had the cooking mechanic in it that was like a really big part of the game, but kind of bugged me was the new Legend of Zelda.
See, I actually really liked the cooking in the new Legend of Zelda.
Well, I don't dislike it. It bugs me from like a realism standpoint. Is like just grabbing an egg, some honey, and then like a branch and throwing it into a pot. You cannot make pudding out of
Yeah.
that. Like, because he cooks everything in a wok. And there's actually a really good Polygon video where they try to cook every recipe how Link cooks it, and it just turned like 80% of the recipes turn out as horrible garbage
Yeah.
because like I liked the cooking in it. It was just as I started thinking about it as someone who cooks and I would see what recipes made, like fucking mushrooms and apples just heated together in a thing, like that's gross.
Yeah, I guess that never bothered me because I was willing to just be like, well, it's not important. It's just video game logic.
No, it
But
has to be the best. Did you ever play
it
Cooking
has to
Mama?
be just like real life. I haven't actually. Was it good?
I've only played a very little bit of it. I had a friend who had a DS, and he'd sometimes let me borrow it on the playground at recess. And he had Cooking Mama, and that is more like not so much the food looks really good, but it's just the action of cooking,
Hmm.
and then having a nice motherly voice tell you that you're the very best is always nice.
Yeah.
Trying to think of what games have some really terrible food. One thing that is from the new Resident Evil 7, the sequence at the beginning when you're having dinner with the hillbilly like murder family and the food is just really well rendered, but it's all rotten food.
Yeah.
Watching them eat it, that made me sick a little bit.
Yeah, I think I may have seen some of that cutscene. It's pretty gross looking.
It's pretty gross.
But I mean, like, that family is, I don't know, I'm assuming they're supposed to be at least like mildly based off of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre family,
Yep,
right?
that's kind
Yeah.
of the vibe, is that sort of American horror thing. I wanted to ask you, what is your earliest memory of food in a game?
Oh man. That is not something that I even thought about. I'm trying to think about like early games that I would have played that would have had food in them. I guess like Pokemon Yellow had some food items that you could feed your Pokemon, but that barely feels like it's worth mentioning because they're just healing items with a different name than healing item.
Hmm.
But
I mean, that's fine too. Like as long as it's like a
yeah.
real food,
Hmm.
that counts because that's my first memories. Is it's just a healing item.
Yeah. Well, did you have one?
I have two because I don't actually remember which one I played first, but they're both about the same thing. And it's either one is from Sega's Streets of Rage. It was the full roasted chickens you'd find in the garbage cans when you'd kick them over and eat them. Or it was from Castlevania, and it had the wall meat where you'd smack panels, and then just like a pork roast would fall onto the ground, and you'd pick it up and eat it.
Hmm.
Which at the time I didn't question the cleanliness of just eating food that had been in a not food storage place, then falling on the
Yeah.
ground and then eating it. And I was just like, oh, that's gross.
Yeah. Yeah. But I guess if you're in a castle full of monsters, you eat what you can get.
I'm trying to think of like the first game I've ever played where you like had to eat. I
Yeah.
think it was probably The Sims.
Yeah. That might have been for me. I don't know. I usually find having to eat an annoying mechanic in games, but
Yeah, another early one that was probably after The Sims was Snake Eater, Metal Gear Solid 3, and I really liked that one because that felt really well integrated into the game world. It's still probably the best example of a game where you have to eat while still
yeah.
playing a game. Red Dead Redemption 2 did a pretty good job, but it's like weird. You're
Hmm.
like it's a game where the hardest thing to do is not be underweight. It, because it's a game that has like mechanics tied to how much your character weighs,
Mm-hmm.
and like even if you're underweight, you get benefits. You have a smaller damage threshold, so you die faster, but your character actually moves faster and regenerates like stuff, your stamina faster.
Hmm.
But to get the best bonuses, you need to be at average, or I think it's perfect weight. I think that's what it's called. But you just lose weight by being alive and running around, and it's a game where
Hmm.
I'm hitting X or A all the time to be sprinting, so I'm always exercising. But there
Yeah.
would just be points where it's like you're underweight, and then I would just make my Arthur stop, eat 17 candy bars, 14 sandwiches, 18 cans of peaches, and he's just throwing all of his garbage on the ground and then just walk out of the convenience store. And then he'd go to bed and then wake up and he'd be like, "You're perfectly in weight now." And I'm just like, that's gross. But, yeah. Oh, man, I forgot to follow up on it. I was like, I wouldn't want to get our VOD muted, but we're talking about music. Did you ever listen to the Resident Evil basement theme?
Oh, I forgot to.
Okay. I
I'll write it down.
was trying to think of some other ones where food was like a big deal.
One that I was thinking about with this question was like games where food is kind of used for comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like the example that stood out to me was in the Neptunia games.
Okay.
Um,
Ugh.
there's like that's one of the big things with Neptune is she really likes to eat and especially pudding. Um, so there are like a lot of kind of fun bits with that. But then she hates eggplants for no readily apparent reason.
She's a lesbian.
That could be. Uh, so like there will be moments in the plot where like a eggplant shows up and just kind of disrupts the plan because Neptune hates the eggplant so much.
I guess I can't think of any instances like that from games I've played where
Yeah.
it's. I'm trying to think.
Well, the other game that I was thinking about that uses food for kind of like humorous, it's like a different kind of humor, but like in Undertale, where you'll like save by finding the like frozen spaghetti in the microwave and think about like one day you could warm up the spaghetti.
I totally forgot about that. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm trying to think of some other ones. Like when I think of video games and food, my brain always also jumps to Sonic the Hedgehog, which, despite me knowing this, I have never seen in any game him eat a chili dog.
Hmm.
But I know it's part of his lore that he loves chili dogs.
Huh.
And it's one of the only things from Sonic that I completely agree with because I love chili dogs as well. They're one of my favorite foods. I'm gonna make them for dinner this week. Well, next week.
Man, it's been a long ass time since I've had a chili dog.
And I'm gonna sit in my room in my underwear and just eat 8 hot dogs covered in chili.
That sounds awesome.
And if you guys,
can I join you for that?
Yeah, we can just live stream. That'll be our podcast. Is us just shirtless eating sausages.
It'll be a good show.
So I'm pretty sure that just comes from the Sonic Underground TV show. Is
Hmm.
he worked for Uncle Chuck's chili dog delivery service, and then that's just stuck with him as like a thing for, I guess, like when Sega holds like launch parties and stuff, they'll always just have like a bar for chili dogs.
Hmm.
Like,
Well, we need to get invited to a Sega lunch party then.
I would go to a lunch party for Sega to get some free Charlie dogs. Even if they're remaking Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, I'll be like, as long as I get free chili dogs, put that in my mouth.
Yeah. I mean, maybe if they were remaking Adventure 2 Battle, you'd like it the next time.
I mean, I don't see how I could. Only just because they haven't made a good 3D Sonic since, so I don't know who would fix it.
Oh, you said since. I know you didn't mean since, but
I
the
didn't say
implication that they haven't made a good game since Adventure 2 Battle.
that's still
That's what you
grammatically
said.
correct without implying that Sonic Adventure 2 was good. Because it's since the game has come out, they have not made a good one.
Yeah.
I didn't say
But
another
also-
good one.
Okay, but like, okay, you're technically correct, but at least like give me that normally that would be the implication of saying
You
something in
can
that
have
way.
that. It'll make you feel warm and fuzzy, like eating
It will.
like eating a day old chili dog. But I'm trying to think of some other ones. The Ninja Turtle game, you're always collecting pizza. I'm trying to think of games where like food is your like life. I guess Minecraft most famously now is your food is just the little pieces of meat.
Well, one game where food is like really important is Stardew Valley, if you've ever played any of that.
I have not played it. I've watched it, but
I like Stardew Valley a lot, and that's like a pretty I mean, like obviously you're a farmer, so um, food is both something that you're making, but then also like you can find recipes throughout the game to make new food items, and like some of the villagers like specific types of food, so you can make those food to win affection from them, that kind of
Nice.
thing.
just kind of another thing off topic is that sort of game. Have you ever looked at the Rune Factory series?
A little bit. I think they're releasing a new one on the Switch early next year that I was thinking about playing.
Okay, I was just wondering because it's like this seems like a game Robert would like.
Yeah, I think it probably is something that I will enjoy.
Once again, I'm trying to think of games that have like terrible food.
Oh, like really bad food that you wouldn't want to eat?
We're like just like looking at the food model. Like I was like, they make a point of like, look at our food, and I'm like, that food looks terrible. A horrible food moment that I have from a game. It's not because the food is terrible. It's just because of how it's happening. Is in Dead Rising 2. Did you play that one?
I think I played some of it. I played a lot more of the first one though.
Well, it's because like every psychopath in 7, if I remember, 2 is supposed to be like a representation of the 7 deadly sins.
Huh.
And you fight the gluttony woman, and she is just this 400+ pound woman in a mobility scooter. who is just shoveling food into her mouth to the point that she has to just keep vomiting it up to keep going.
That's pretty gross.
Oh yeah, and just watching her just shovel food into her mouth.
Yeah.
That
Uh,
that was the thing that turned me off to buffets for a while. But as you can see, I eventually got over it.
Buffets are pretty good. If you're not eating and constantly vomiting.
Like that one Monty Python sketch.
Yeah. Wait, he wasn't constantly vomiting though, was he? Didn't he just like eat too much and then explode?
The
Or are
opening,
we
he
thinking of
vomits like
different
during the
sketches?
course of that whole thing, he vomits like 12 times.
Okay, it's been too long since I watched it.
The very opening is like when he shows up, John Cleese's character is like, "And fetch the bucket for monsieur." And as he's getting the bucket, he's already just turning and just jet vomiting onto the ground. And then like the part that made me laugh and also made me go, "Oh," is like halfway through. There's like this poor Hispanic cleaning lady who's like cleaning the vomit off the floor, and he's just puking onto her back. And I was just like, "Oh."
I feel like I partially have fond memories of that scene just because like that was a movie that we watched with my family, and like my mom just being like, "This is so gross" the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, my parents were Monty Python fans. That was like something that they used to watch before they even had kids. So
Nice.
they brought that on their self. My mom brought that on herself watching that movie with us. But
Makes sense. Do you have any other food things you want to talk about?
no big ones. There were like a couple of other games that I thought about that just had food. Like River City Girls that I just finished has a lot of. It has the same thing that River City Underground had, where there are kind of restaurants around that you can go into and buy food in.
Yeah, that's been in the River City series for like ever.
Which I feel like was a fun way to do health replenishment.
Oh, for sure. Allergy power.
I think what else? I'm sure there are other games. So one that I haven't played but have watched a lot of been played is Overcooked.
Yeah.
Yeah, my roommates like that a lot. I think I played it maybe once and was like, this experience is too stressful for me and I don't like it.
When we all live together, maybe we'll try it again. But I also feel the same way. So I think it would just be both of us just stressing out.
Yeah.
And being
like, yeah.
Stop yelling!
It gives me the same like, ooh, I don't want that as the idea of climbing the tall ladder.
We'll play that on a platform that is 40 feet off the ground. That is
no,
held
no,
up
no.
by only 4 ladders that sway when the wind blows a little too hard.
No, don't even make me think about that, please. It's too much. Too much, man.
Oh man, this is another just off topic just to torture Robert, but I saw this horrible ride. That's not even a ride. It's the most not ride thing I've ever seen at an amusement park. And it's just called Free Fall.
I hate it already.
Yeah, and what they do is they take you up like 120 feet. And they put you in like a life preserver. And they lay you down on this like giant trap door like from the one level in Gang Beasts where all the sausages are falling from the sky. Just like one of those. And then you're just in the middle of this huge door thing, and then they just pull a switch, and the door just opens, and you fall just backwards 100 and something feet into a giant cargo net.
Ooh, I hate it.
And
I've seen it like amusement parks where they'll have something similar to that, but it's kind of like you're bungee jumping, where they'll like hook people up, and I hate that too.
You hear that, everyone? If we can get
all.
more followers and more subs,
we'll
drop Robert off an amusement park ride.
No, please don't. Please don't promise that. I'm begging you.
No one's here to hear me promise that. But the thing about those rides is they're never part of like the normal ride pass rides. Those are extra rides you have to give them money.
Yeah.
To do, and it's just like, why? That's not even fun.
Yeah.
You can just do that at home by jumping off a bridge.
I feel like it's for adrenaline junkies or for people who like their friend dared them and they want to prove that they're brave.
Honestly,
I feel
oh, sorry.
those seems to me like those are the two categories of people who would want that experience.
The drop door one doesn't actually sound that bad to me because I would just be looking up the whole time.
Yeah.
The one we
That
talked about
to me might actually be worse.
Oh
But
man, I wanted to see you drop while having a camera go the whole way.
no, 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 no.
But
We'll need a lot of subs.
a lot
A
of
lot
sub.
of subs.
How many footlongs do you need, Robert?
Enough footlongs that for the rest of my life I can just do this and other creative things. If I never have to go and work another job again for the rest, a normal job again for the rest of my life, if I can just do Twitch and make the creative things that I want to make, then I will submit. I'll do it.
Okay. You heard
I
him,
will face my
everyone.
fears.
Drop that cash! Give us those bits!
We need it desperately.
We need to drop Robert. And, oh man, because now this thing is like, I'm just going to wait until one of the Paul brothers just goes, fuck it, here's $50 million. I don't need him. I'm like, oh man.
God.
Flying Rob out to Vegas and we're dropping him off Death Point.
Don't give them any ideas.
Man, that guy videotaped dead people hanging in a forest. He'll definitely come videotape Robert falling out of the sky into a canyon.
Yeah. I mean, he'll tape it, but I feel like he can get shock for a much lower price point.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter to them anymore. They're in a different stratosphere than us.
Yeah.
Well, I honestly, this kind of went off the rails, but it's fine because I didn't really have any other food items to talk about. I just tried to think of something in video games to talk about, and we ended up just talking about Robert's fears more.
That was fun anyways.
When's just the Robert's Fear podcast?
I mean, we can do that if you want. We sort of did that once, didn't we?
When we were playing Rocket League, yeah.
Yeah.
But we didn't get to see your face. When you were doing the no ladder face, that was perfect.
Yeah. I mean, we can do that as a podcast if you want. Just go over my list of fears and you can watch me cringe and at terror just in the thought of.
I wish we could then, like, I could send you, I need you to watch these YouTube videos. We could do that.
Yeah. That's absolutely.
Because you would just be watching it and they wouldn't show up on the thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, maybe that's something to stow away in the bank for later.
Well, and I mean, like, I don't know. I've seen other Twitch people watch YouTube stuff on their stream too.
You're not supposed to.
Definitely.
Like, it says that, and I'd be afraid to do it. Like, because I guess partners can get away with doing it, but like.
Gotcha.
I've definitely raided into people who are watching YouTube videos, have followed them, and then come back days later and just like that whole VOD that I had watched in the raid has just been muted.
Yeah. I mean, like, I guess, I don't know. It would suck if that was a fun VOD and it got muted, but that's also not like, as long as all that happens is it gets muted, then like, that seems to me like it's a risk that you could take once or twice, and maybe if you have enough of a live audience there at the time, then it's worth it.
But, yeah, but it's just been us the whole time.
Yeah.
But
us and that one YouTube guy who genuinely, we love you and thank you for watching.
Just keep watching. It's that one person who is subbed to us, so now we're at 11 subs on YouTube.
Leave a comment and we will reply to you.
Robert will personally reply to you.
That is true.
But well, let's get planned up for next time then. We're an hour and a half, so. Do you have any movies like this one? You were definitely a winner with this suggestion.
I mean, I actually hadn't. I definitely have movies that I'd like to watch, but if you had one that you were interested in watching this week.
I remember now. Thanks for reminding me, because we talked about John Cena, who is a wrestler.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to watch Ready to Rumble? And talk
Yeah,
about
let me make
wrestling?
sure that I have somewhere that I can watch it.
That's true. I should see if I can even see that.
Ready to Rumble's what it's called?
Oh man, it's on Amazon Prime for free. Damn it.
Looks like it's for 3 monies.
For 3 monies, but yes, it's that movie right there.
Or you could subscribe to Stars and watch it for free, which maybe you could do like a free 1-week subscription to Stars through Amazon. But
yes,
I'd rather just pay 3 monies.
Yeah, if it's that, I can figure out another way to watch it.
Okay, but yeah, I will watch Ready to Rumble.
Oh my god, I'm so excited because Robert is not into wrestling. I don't think he dislikes wrestling, but you would not say you're a wrestling fan, am I correct?
Yeah, I just have no real background with it. Yeah.
All right, so, man, I will be the one to do the thing next time to be like, here is 5 wrestling moves. Which one's the fake one?
I like it. Yeah, if you want to come up with some of those, that would be fun. We need to just I feel like having little games like that, and if we could come up with other game ideas to do as bits too. I don't know. Those are
I like
fun.
it. It makes me chuckle. I wanna win one for once though.
You came pretty close today.
So sure. John Cena. So I was like, he knows that I know who John Cena is. Actually, no, wait. I did win with Terry Ball. I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
Like, you had the balls to say Terra Ball. So I was like, he could be punking me again by bringing up John Cena. Man. All right, so we got Ready to Rumble. This is going to be like... Is this just the... Will it just be the WrestleCast? Is that the one where I finally just get to vomit wrestling everywhere and you just get to be like, okay.
Yeah, if you want to.
Awesome. And I have on good authority that William will probably be able to join us.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. I like having Will here with us.
I also like Will having here with us. They're off being lame and they're at a concert for Highly Suspect tonight.
I don't even know who that is, but
I think I've heard like 2 of their songs. But
I would say that I hope they're having fun, but they should be here watching us, so I hope they're having a terrible time.
Well, they have to drive all the way to Oklahoma City. So
it's pretty rough.
They won't be back until like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And Will has to go to work at 4 a.m.
Ugh. Well, you know what? I love Will. I hope they're having a good time.
I also hope he gets all of his money's worth.
It's not impossible that someday I'll miss a podcast for a thing.
Hey,
miss a something.
I mean, you've already missed one for being sick, so
That's true.
You could just be like, I don't even want to do it today. Fuck that one YouTube guy.
Sometime next month, John Hodgman is coming through the Twin Cities on his book tour, and I kind of want to go see that. And
hey, I don't know you do what you got to do. This Twitch channel isn't going anywhere, and I don't just mean like you can always come back. I just mean like this is the level of success we will always have.
Yes.
None.
Not none. One guy on YouTube.
One guy on YouTube. We have 102 followers, and that one guy on YouTube who watches our podcast.
Indeed.
It's probably Will's grandma, who just keeps expecting to see Will there, and then she just turns it off. But all right, I think it's a pretty good setup for next time. So we'll see you then. Since there's only 2 of us, we're not going to raid because that doesn't count towards the rating achievement. So we're just going to sign off. And tomorrow will be Fallout in the morning for the first time in a while. And then at night, we're going to try to play Borderlands again. If it fucks up and just keeps crashing, we'll just stop the stream and then reboot it, and Will said he'd just keep playing more Evil Within. So, hopes and prayers for everyone involved.
Indeed.
But thanks again for stopping by.
Yep.
Hope to
Bye,
see you
everyone.
again soon. Bye. We'll do. Oh, neither of my hands are on screen. There we go.